What's up everyone, it's Ronin, and today we're going to go over that desired effect that everyone wants in electronic music today, and that is sidechain compression. You've probably heard of it, you probably know what it is, but I'm going to start as if we have no idea what's going on. So, let's jump right into it here. Sidechain compression is essentially when you take an audio signal, like a synth melody or some sort of melody, in most cases, and then you're going to send that melody or audio signal to another signal, like a kick drum in most cases, and that kick drum, every time it hits, it's going to compress that other audio signal, so that melody is going to be pushed down every time that kick comes in, and how much it is pushed down and how forceful it is completely up to you, and it's based on your settings. And that's what I'm going to go into today, is getting those settings right and how to really achieve a kind of perfect sidechain sound. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I have a lead synth right here, and we're just going to solo this out and take a listen to it really quick. Right, so that's the lead synth we had there, and then secondly I have a kick drum set up right here, and it's coming in on the quarter beats. Now, if you're listening through really good speakers, that's a pretty heavy kick drum. It has a lot of sub underneath it, so we're in the 50 to 60 hertz kind of range, and it's a pretty solid kick drum. So that's one thing to note when you're doing sidechain compression. Whatever you're sending your audio signal to, so in this case my kick drum, and in most cases, that will vary the effect. So if you have an extremely sub-bass kind of oriented kick, that is going to affect how much that sound is being compressed. So in this case, this kick is probably going to come through extremely hard because that sub is such a powerful frequency that it really is noticeable, and it really pushes out the sound. So if you have a lighter kick, it's not going to do it as greatly as like this would. So we'll hear that. But let's start by grabbing a compressor, and I'm working in Ableton, by the way, Live 9. This works in Live 8 and in any DAW you're using, anything. So this is the same thing. It's just that this compressor is going to be more specific to Ableton because we're in Ableton. So let's grab a compressor, and we're going to drop it onto our lead synth here. We're going to open it up, and I'm just going to rename it. So if I had a bunch of plugins here, I can keep it nice and clean, and I know that this is the sidechain compression right here, so I'm just going to name it Sidechain. The first thing to do is right here, this sidechain button, turn it on. That easy. And then this audio from, this is what I was talking about, sending your signal, and what is going to be compressing this this audio. Make sure what you're sending in is your kick drum. We're going to open this up. I like this view most in Ableton's compressor. I like being able to see the compressor at work here, like in this view, this kind of graph view. We're not going to touch anything in terms of the ratio, the attack, or the release. We're going to leave those all exactly as they are. And all we're going to touch is the knee and the threshold. What I've learned in my experience is that I tend to drop the knee all the way down to 0. And to me, it gives more of a really defined compression kind of sound. Like, you really hear the compression working. I've heard of people leaving it up or turning it even more up, but that's just going to soften, the knee, which is essentially the angle, the curve at which the compression is working. So we're going to leave it at 0. That's where I like to do it. You can mess around, but I personally leave it at 0. Next, we're going to go over to the threshold, and this is where the biggest changes happen and where you'll notice the sidechain effect working the most. I tend to always start at -20 decibels. So what that means is that when this kick drum is coming in, it's going to compress our audio down by 20 decibels. It's going to push that sound down that much. So let's hear it. Let's hear what it sounds like. So it's that easy. Basically in 5 seconds, well, maybe not 5 seconds because I was explaining, but if I wasn't explaining, in like 5 seconds you could achieve the sidechaining effect. It really is that easy to do. But we want to tweak it. We want to push it farther. Let's try pushing the threshold down to -30 and see what happens. Right, so it only makes sense, right? We've dropped the threshold down another 10 decibels, so now we're pushing that audio even further down. So, logically, the more we keep pushing the threshold down, the more the audio is going to be compressed. So let's just go crazy here and push it down to -6, infinite on Ableton's compressor. Let's see what happens here. Right, so that audio is now being pushed so far down that basically when that kick drum comes in, you're hearing nothing except that kick drum. You usually don't want to push it that far because that's a little extreme, but I found -20 to -30 on the threshold usually a nice range. It gives you a perfect kind of swooping, pumping, flowy kind of effect, and it works really well. Now, having said that, there are a couple of things you can do. You can start to mess around with the ratio, the attack, and release, and these will just create different forms of sidechain compression. So more of like a wall, where it's like really cutting in hard. You can create it even more flowing, more wavy. Just mess around with those settings. You'll get the hang of it and the feel with it. But I tend to like to leave it just like this, because this creates a really perfectly nice sidechain kind of sound. But there is one more thing I have found just from experimenting over the years, and that is in Ableton specifically, one of their compressors, but I'm sure you could do this I've tried this in Logic, you can do it. Where was I going with this? Oh, right. With with their compressors here, there's one called Precise, and I think that was an 8 too, if I remember right. So I'm going to grab that Precise, and I'm going to put it above our sidechain. So order does matter. See how I have the sidechain down here and Precise above it. That will make a difference. Now, the Precise compressor is, as it says, very precise. It compresses the audio very finely, very tightly, and you can really hear it. It really pushes the audio in a way that it's just extremely kind of flat, almost flatlines it. But the ratio is only set at 1.54 to 1. So I tried pushing it up to infinite to 1, and I found that this creates a really kind of sick, nasty, ultra pumping effect. And here, let's just take a listen to it. Yeah, so you can hear it, like the audio is just being flatlined and just thrusted forward. You can even hear like a delay on the audio that you couldn't hear before. You can hear that there's white noise underneath this synth, which I did have there, and it's pushing that up. You couldn't even hear that really too much before. Like, this compressor brings everything out, and you can really hear it, and it's cool, especially when you drop the threshold even more. So we'll go to like -30 again. Take a listen to it now. So personally, I think that sounds pretty damn cool, and a lot of audio engineers are kind of against this because it's like that over compression. It's just, you're kind of just killing the sound. But if you use this sparingly, this can be a very cool effect, and I've used it on a lot of my tracks, like my Tiesto remix. 3 of the lead synths in that remix were with this exact same technique that I'm showing you now, the sidechain compression that we've done, and that Precise compressor, because it just creates this really cool, especially after you've mastered the track, this really cool just digging compression sound, and it is really nice. It sounds very powerful. But I have to caution you, like I was saying earlier, use it sparingly, because if you put this on everything, like every bass you have, every synth, every sound, your audio is just going to be compressed to the max, and it's going to sound awful, because everything is just over compressed, and everything's just going to sound messy, flatlined. They're all going to be fighting to get through your speakers, and you don't want that. I found that out way long ago. So use the precise compressor sparingly, but it is a very cool thing to do, just to add some power to maybe your lead synth or your lead bass. It's a nice little touch to the sidechain. So I hope this helped you guys. That's all I have for this video, but I want to let you know that I have a sidechain template. So basically everything I went over today, the precise and the sidechain compressor, I have the templates for them if you use Ableton 8 or 9. Up on my Facebook page after this video will be posted. They'll be there, and you can download them. So all you have to do is load up the two compressors into Ableton and drop them in. You're good to go. You got sidechain compression and this cool power effect if you want it via the precise compressors. So I hope this helped you guys again, and I'll check in with everyone later. See you guys.